Since the dawn of civilization, humans have whispered of unseen forces, spirits, that invade the soul, twist the mind, and claim the body. Is demonic possession a relic of superstition, a psychological enigma, or a terrifying intersection of both? Today, we confront the shadows. Let's separate myth from reality. Now we'll dive into the labyrinth of demonic possession, its history, its victims, its skeptics, and its believers. But be warned, what you're about to explore may challenge everything you think you know about evil. The ancient fear of demonic possession is a profound and enduring phenomenon that has woven itself into the very fabric of human history, transcending time, geography, and culture. From the earliest civilizations of Mesopotamia, where malevolent spirits were believed to wreak havoc on the living, to the medieval witch trials that saw countless lives destroyed under the weight of superstition, the terror of being overtaken by an external evil force has left an indelible mark on humanity's collective psyche. This fear is not merely a relic of the past, it persists in modern times, manifesting in everything from the grotesque, otherworldly imagery of Hieronymus Bosch's paintings to the chilling portrayals of exorcisms in contemporary horror films. At its core, the dread of demonic possession speaks to something deeply primal within us, a fear of the unknown, of losing control over one's own mind and body, and of the vulnerability of the human soul to corruption. It raises unsettling questions about the nature of evil. Is it an external force that can invade and dominate, or is it an intrinsic part of the human condition? The concept of possession forces us to confront the fragility of our identity and the boundaries of our autonomy, blurring the line between the self and the other. By examining this phenomenon through the lenses of philosophy, theology, and psychology, we uncover not only the roots of this ancient fear, but also its profound implications for how we understand ourselves and the world around us. Whether viewed as a literal truth or a metaphorical construct, the idea of demonic possession continues to captivate and terrify, serving as a mirror to humanity's deepest anxieties and darkest imaginings. The concept of demonic possession, deeply rooted in theological traditions, presents a complex interplay between spirituality and science, where the mind becomes a battleground for understanding the unknown. Defined in religious texts as the alleged domination of a human body by a malevolent supernatural entity, demonic possession is often characterized by a series of dramatic and unsettling symptoms. These include glossolalia, or speaking in tongues, where individuals utter incomprehensible languages, displays of superhuman strength that defy physical limitations, and a visceral aversion to sacred symbols or religious artifacts. Such phenomena have been documented across cultures and historical periods, often interpreted as evidence of spiritual warfare. However, the line between the supernatural and the psychological blurs when these symptoms are examined through a medical lens. Conditions such as schizophrenia, dissociative identity disorder, and epilepsy can produce strikingly similar manifestations, including auditory hallucinations, fragmented speech, and erratic behavior. This overlap raises profound questions about the nature of possession. Is it a spiritual affliction, a psychological disorder, or a combination of both? The case of Anneliese Michel, a young German woman whose harrowing experiences inspired The Exorcism of Emily Rose, epitomizes this tension. Diagnosed with epilepsy and psychosis, Michel underwent numerous exorcisms after her family attributed her suffering to demonic forces. Her tragic death in 1976 sparked debates about the intersection of faith, mental health, and medical neglect, leaving us to ponder whether her ordeal was a battle against unseen evil or a failure to address her medical needs within the context of deeply held cultural beliefs. This duality challenges us to navigate the murky waters where myth and reality collide, forcing us to confront the limits of both science and spirituality in explaining the human experience. The treatment of demonic possession varies significantly depending on cultural and religious traditions. In Christianity, for example, exorcism remains the primary intervention used to expel malevolent entities. However, it is crucial to distinguish cases that require purely spiritual intervention from those that may stem from psychological or neurological disorders. Several studies indicate that some manifestations attributed to possession could be linked to conditions such as dissociative disorders or epilepsy. To provide comprehensive care, it is often recommended to consider a collaboration between mental health professionals and religious authorities. This integrated approach allows for addressing both the spiritual and psychological dimensions of the phenomenon, offering medical support alongside spiritual guidance tailored to the individual's needs. Theology has long grappled with the enigmatic nature of evil, weaving intricate narratives that seek to explain its origins and manifestations, often through the lens of spiritual warfare. In Christianity, the concept of fallen angels serves as a cornerstone for understanding the dichotomy between divine goodness and malevolent forces. These once radiant beings who rebelled against God in an act of pride and defiance are cast as eternal adversaries, roaming the earth to tempt, torment, and ensnare human souls. The Catholic Catechism describes angels as purely spiritual, non-corporeal beings, emphasizing their otherworldly nature and their capacity to influence the material realm. This spiritual battle is framed as a cosmic struggle where demons, in a twisted mimicry of divine love, seek to corrupt and claim human souls, perverting the sacred relationship between humanity and the divine. Mystics like John of the Cross have vividly depicted this struggle, recounting harrowing dark nights of the soul, where individuals face relentless psychological and spiritual assaults, their faith tested by unseen forces. Yet, this narrative extends beyond Christianity, resonating across cultures and religions. In Hinduism, the asuras, powerful, malevolent beings, embody chaos and opposition to divine order, while Islamic tradition speaks of jinn, fiery spirits capable of both good and evil, who interact with humans in complex and often perilous ways. Indigenous animistic beliefs further echo this theme, portraying malevolent spirits as disruptors of harmony and balance. This universal motif of malevolent entities raises profound questions. Is it evidence of a shared spiritual truth, a collective recognition of forces beyond human comprehension? Or does it reflect humanity's innate tendency to externalize its inner darkness, projecting fears, desires, and moral failings onto supernatural adversaries? The interplay between theology, culture, and psychology invites us to explore not only the nature of evil, but also the depths of the human condition, where the boundaries between the spiritual and the psychological blur, and where the struggle for meaning and redemption remains eternal. History is replete with instances of alleged demonic possession that ignited waves of mass hysteria, often revealing the darker undercurrents of societal fears, power struggles, and psychological repression. One of the most infamous cases occurred in 17th century Loudun, France, where Ursuline nuns accused their priest, Urbain Grandier, of bewitching them and inducing their possession by demons. This sensational claim spiraled into a chaotic spectacle of public exorcisms, during which the nuns exhibited dramatic and often eroticized behaviors, drawing crowds and fueling a frenzy of fear and fascination. Behind the scenes, the case was steeped in political intrigue, as Grandier's enemies exploited the accusations to destroy him, culminating in his torture and execution. The episode also reflected the era's deep-seated sexual repression and the Church's struggle to maintain control over a society grappling with shifting power dynamics. Similarly, the Salem witch trials of 1692 stand as a harrowing testament to the destructive power of mass hysteria, where accusations of witchcraft and possession led to the imprisonment, torture, and execution of numerous individuals. Modern theories attempting to explain the Salem phenomenon range from ergot poisoning, a fungal infection that can cause hallucinations, to the psychological effects of repressed trauma and societal stress in a rigid Puritan community. These historical episodes force us to confront a haunting question. To what extent are claims of possession not supernatural occurrences, but rather reflections of collective anxieties, unresolved tensions, and the human tendency to externalize inner turmoil? In both Loudun and Salem, the lines between reality and illusion blurred, revealing how deeply societal fears can shape and distort human behavior. The exorcism ritual is a profound and often harrowing confrontation between faith and fear. Deeply rooted in the traditions of the Catholic Church, it is a sacred and highly regulated practice, reserved only for trained exorcists who are ordained to perform it. These exorcists invoke the power of saints, holy relics, and the Eucharist, the body and blood of Christ, to confront and expel malevolent entities believed to possess individuals. The ritual is not merely a physical or psychological exercise, but a spiritual battle, one that demands unwavering faith, rigorous preparation, and a deep understanding of Catholic doctrine. Modern exorcists, such as Father Gabriele Amorth, a renowned figure in the field who served as the chief exorcist of the Diocese of Rome, have brought the practice into the contemporary spotlight. Father Amorth claimed to have performed thousands of exorcisms, battling demons on a weekly basis. His accounts, along with those of other exorcists, describe intense and often terrifying encounters. These narratives frequently include reports of physical assaults on the exorcists themselves, such as scratches, bites, or being thrown across rooms, as well as psychological strain that can lead to breakdowns. Critics, however, argue that these experiences may be influenced by confirmation bias, where the exorcist's expectations and beliefs shape their interpretation of events. Skeptics suggest that many cases of supposed demonic possession could be better explained by mental health conditions, such as schizophrenia or dissociative identity disorder, which require medical rather than spiritual intervention. The dangers of exorcism are not limited to the spiritual or psychological realm. They can also have tragic physical consequences. In 2018, a 4-year-old boy in Indiana died during a faith healing session that was intended to drive out evil spirits. This case highlights the fine and often blurred line between spiritual warfare and malpractice. While the Catholic Church officially condemns amateur exorcisms and emphasizes the need for trained professionals, the rise in demand for such rituals in the 21st century has led to an increase in unauthorized and potentially dangerous practices. This surge in demand may be attributed to a combination of factors, including the spread of sensationalized media portrayals of exorcism, a growing fascination with the paranormal, and a broader cultural anxiety about the unknown. The Church itself walks a delicate line in addressing this issue. On one hand, it upholds the reality of demonic possession and the necessity of exorcism as a sacrament of last resort. On the other hand, it cautions against the misuse of the ritual and the dangers of misdiagnosing possession. The Vatican has issued guidelines to ensure that exorcisms are performed only after thorough investigations rule out medical or psychological explanations. Yet the tension between faith and reason persists, as does the debate over the legitimacy and ethics of exorcism in the modern world. Ultimately, the exorcism ritual remains a deeply controversial and enigmatic practice, embodying the clash between ancient beliefs and contemporary skepticism. It is a testament to the enduring power of faith, the human fascination with the supernatural, and the complexities of navigating the boundaries between the spiritual and the physical, the sacred and the profane. Science provides a profoundly different perspective on phenomena often attributed to supernatural forces, revealing how the human brain can create experiences that mimic traditional notions of possession. Conditions such as schizophrenia, where individuals experience auditory hallucinations, dissociative identity disorder, DID, characterized by the presence of multiple voices or identities, and conversion disorder, which can manifest as seemingly superhuman strength, all parallel historical descriptions of demonic possession. For instance, the infamous 1974 case of Julia, initially interpreted as a demonic possession, was later understood through the lens of DID, highlighting how psychological disorders can be misconstrued as supernatural events. Similarly, a 2019 study demonstrated that sleep paralysis, often accompanied by visions of shadowy figures or malevolent presences, can be explained by the brain's attempt to make sense of disrupted sleep cycles, blending fear with fragmented sensory input. These examples underscore the brain's remarkable ability to construct narratives from chaos, transforming inexplicable sensations into coherent, albeit terrifying stories. Yet, despite living in an age dominated by scientific reasoning, belief in the supernatural persists. This endurance can be attributed to cultural programming, that perpetuates fear through mediums such as horror movies, sensationalized social media content, and the influence of charismatic leaders who exploit these narratives. These cultural forces blur the boundary between metaphor and reality, ensuring that the myth of possession remains a potent and enduring part of the human imagination. The darker side of possession lore reveals a troubling intersection of exploitation, abuse, and the manipulation of fear, often weaponized to exert control or justify violence. In 2021, a Nigerian woman was brutally beaten to death by a self-proclaimed deliverance pastor who claimed she was possessed, highlighting how belief in demonic forces can lead to fatal consequences. Similarly, in Uganda, children accused of being witches are frequently abandoned, abused, or even killed, their lives sacrificed to superstition and societal scapegoating. Even institutions like the Catholic Church, which has long been associated with exorcism rituals, face intense scrutiny. Leaked documents have exposed bishops covering up cases of abuse tied to exorcisms, raising questions about accountability and the ethical implications of such practices. Skeptics argue that the concept of possession is often a patriarchal tool used to pathologize and control women, particularly those labeled as hysterical or non-conforming, reinforcing oppressive gender norms. Neuroscientists, however, offer a different perspective, urging caution and emphasizing that what is often interpreted as demonic may simply be manifestations of poorly understood neurological or psychological conditions. Despite living in an age of reason, belief in possession persists, fueled by cultural programming that perpetuates fear through movies, social media, and charismatic leaders who blur the line between metaphor and reality. This enduring belief system, while offering some a framework to explain the unexplainable, also serves as a stark reminder of how easily fear can be exploited, leading to harm and injustice in the name of spiritual warfare. The conclusion serves as a profound meditation on the duality of human nature and the unsettling truths that possession narratives force us to confront. It situates us in a liminal space, caught between the rigid certainties of belief and disbelief, where the lines between the psychological and the supernatural blur. Possession as a phenomenon becomes less about the existence of demons and more about what these stories reveal about humanity itself. It exposes the fragility of the human mind, vulnerable to both internal and external forces, and highlights the power of narrative to shape our understanding of reality. The allure of evil as an external entity, a demon, a spirit, or some malevolent force, serves as a seductive escape from accountability, allowing us to project our darkest impulses onto something outside ourselves. Yet, the true horror lies not in these externalized evils, but in the recognition of our own capacity for cruelty, our insatiable hunger for meaning in a chaotic world, and the unacknowledged shadows that dwell within us. These shadows, often repressed or denied, are the parts of ourselves we fear to name, our anger, our greed, our capacity for harm. By exploring possession, we are ultimately forced to confront the uncomfortable reality that the monsters we fear may be reflections of our own inner darkness. This journey challenges us to rethink our assumptions about evil, belief, and the human psyche, urging us to look inward rather than outward for the sources of our fears. If this exploration has unsettled or enlightened you, it invites you to share it with others, those who fear the dark or those who believe they understand it, because the true darkness is not out there, but within us all.